Hey folks, so editing Darby here. We had some slight issues with a bit of an experiment we were doing on the recording end of this week's episode for the journey home. This did result in us losing most of the footage, unfortunately, but we do still have the whole audio track, if a little compromised, and some footage. So we will simply be leaving a still on the screen for you to represent what is going on. But we do have, it is primarily a combat episode. So we do have, what little footage we have is actually combat cam. So we'll splice in a bit of that where it makes sense. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to Wyverns Weirdos, A Journey Home. I'm your Dungeon Master Darby, and joining me as always are Zoe, playing 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, Emily, playing Beatrice, Laura, playing Conrad, Mitch, playing 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, and Johanna, playing 𝗲. Let's jump into it. Where we last left off, the party delved into Scald Seat, the underwater volcano, following the lead of Percival Derolo and Grog Strongjaw, who have followed this path before. Meanwhile, they along the way found themselves having to fight some magma land sharks, which fucked them up a bit, particularly 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, but a little magic helped them recover somewhat. They also, during that combat, were surprised by the return of their old Warforged friend, 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, who Conrad recognizes but does not know the name of. So, what would you like to do?
Well, so we've just slide right in here real quick. We've just run into another. So are we still in the room? Because we can't. Some of us are underwater breathing. Some of us are just trying not to breathe.
Yes. So
where have we gone to?
Where we left off, you were still in that section. But yeah, you can basically go. Yeah, we will talk about this when we have clear air. And continue through. I will say, though, because of the heat in here, can I get everyone to roll me a Constitution saving throw, except for Fall, as your tiefling heritage inures you somewhat to the extreme heat in here.
Beatrice was standing standing with her hand on 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧's shoulder. So, 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, you get a +5.
Dirty 20 for Conrad, who I believe did survey the scene, kind of laid his eyes upon 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 for a moment, and then just dashed off after Grog and Percy.
Okay.
Also a dirty 20 for 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧.
Okay.
22.
Okay. And Beatrice.
27.
Yep, you are all fine. Actually, I'll double check for Percy. Yeah, that's fine. And Grog, almost certain. Yeah. I don't know why I even bothered checking for Grog. It's not an incredibly high DC, and he has incredible con and proficiency in saves. So, all right. So eventually, you find your way into what is it? You find yourself into a section where there is a pool of water where you can go in and continue your journey through. Continuing the path of the tunnel as it curves around and goes into the decline, continues and maintains its width of about 15 to 20 feet on either side. You glance down the decline and there's a portion of the ground that opens up and glowing molten rock slowly drips and dribbles down for about 40 or 50 feet. You glide down, the air is warm as it passes you by. Holding your breath at this point because you are, or no, not holding your breath. Holding your breath within the water masks for those who need them. You glide down and get past the lava, which eventually comes and cools in a clump, a small mound where it seems a recent hole has been punched out of and begins to dribble down. It's been cooling and causing this extra layer of the tunnel. Everything seems to be in this weird state of flux, and you continue past it, and it drops into a tunnel below, maybe about 20 or 30 feet wide. It descends downwards, and as you land, you look up, and you can see across the rock here, there is one portion of the wall that is smoother than the rest, in a concave, perfect square across the opposite side. You can see faint runes or glyphs that are pressed into the stone, like part of it has been untouched for quite some time. And you gather that the air is a lot less acrid here, and it is possible to actually breathe as well.
So we're out of the water at this point?
Yes.
Excellent. Probably all like bedraggled little fish. And then I guess probably by this moment, Conrad, who's probably been following closely behind where Grog and Percy are, just kind of just shaking himself off a bit. And it's like, one moment. And then sort of turns around. And so is everyone present coming to this point? I presume 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 as well?
𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 would have been following closely behind. He would have been either at the back or towards the back of the group.
Excellent. So then Conrad turns around kind of sharply and immediately raises his rapier, pointed in warning directly towards where 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 is. And I guess for flavor, our listeners know this, but like for 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧's sake and for Mitch's sake, only 2 weeks at most have probably passed since 𝗖𝗔𝗧 saw Conrad last. And he's damp and bruised from the swim and the assault by the lava bullets, sort of darkening tears in an outfit fancy like your first meeting, sort of, but with a quick assessment, a patched together away strapping of armor, weaponry, and more notably dark around the eyes, paler in the skin, a heavier presence of magic of something else. Even a touch of the place you once called home, or the place you once inhabited, Barovia. And he speaks with his rapier raised, and he's like, "You! Why did you seek to assist, and where from did you come by here? Who are you? Automaton? Speak!"
It's 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧.
What does that mean?
He was at... Hi, how are you?
I'm glad to know that you are 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, actually. Things have been very weird.
Valid.
How do you wish to determine this?
What did you do that made everybody very angry?
There are several that I can think of. The most notable would be a misguided understanding that I may or may not have set Strahd upon a village.
Yeah, this is definitely Exley.
Ding, 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 ding. That's you.
Strahd, and why did this metal man set him upon a village?
He was a vampire locked in a plane of
As you say vampire, Percy cocks his gun and aims it at Exley.
Exley wasn't.
One good reason why I shouldn't shoot you on sight.
Can I ascertain that this anger is from the word vampire?
Roll me an insight check.
Oh,
See,
27.
20. Yeah, it immediately was immediate reaction upon the word vampire.
Excellent. Because he is dead. More so than normal.
And that justifies your actions. Setting a vampire upon a village, allowing him his way with them.
Sevia. Sevia on the ground having the worst day of her life goes, Percy, it's fine. Conrad will deal with it. I'm still I got his rapier pointed. He's again it's difficult because he looks more sort of desperate rather than huffy like a boy. But there is that tinge of I've made a call here and everyone else has been sort of jumping over him or diffusing it, and he doesn't understand why, specifically in this situation. This is something he doesn't like normally, but there's something missing. Anyone who would have been, everyone's really looking at it between Exley and Percy at this current point, but anyone who would have a high enough perception to notice when Exley says, because he is dead, some shadow crosses across Conrad's face for a moment.
Yeah, roll me a charisma saving throw for that, Laura.
Okay. Cool. Okay. This might be alright. 23.
Okay, that is enough. You feel like some dark magic tries to escape from you, and those around you see a flicker of arcane amber just flare out from his hand before being suppressed at the mention of Strahd.
And so probably because it's all happening at once, by the point that Saviour's like, oh, Conrad will take care of it, Conrad just reflexively kind of grips and regrips the rapier that he's holding, is shaking a bit more, and then shifts his footing and regains his stance. And he's like, I do recall this. I don't recall you.
Percy lowers his gun and he says to you, Exley, I will trust these people to vouch for you for now, but you step 1 foot out of line and I will not hesitate to unload.
What is that? And Exley gestures towards the presumably weapon that was pointed at him.
An invention of mine. You need not know more. It's done this world enough.
Interesting.
I wish not to inflict it upon other worlds.
Right. Yes, we can vouch for Exley. It's true he's done some bad things, but he is an ally to us and he shouldn't harm us. And then Fall goes and directs this to Conrad, looking a little concerned. Yes, he's an old ally who we were separated from. He helped us to defeat Strahd and travel alongside us.
And he's still holding the rapier, but he's like, again, there's something, just these flashes of distress over his face. He's like, the automaton.
Yes.
This is the automaton.
Yes, that's right.
What is your name?
There's a pause as Exley is kind of staring either intently or vacantly. It's very difficult to tell with the little LEDs, with a cocked head just directly at you. And then he responds with, I am designation 42.
And Conrad almost finds himself cocking his head to one side as well, as he's done many, many, many times since Exley left. In like a mirror. Like 42, you say?
That is correct. Are you okay?
And like across Conrad's face, like there's this flash of anger and like fear, and then like embarrassment, and then again, just he kind of like sets his face, which is something that's a progression that quite often is very plain on his face, much more than he'd like it to be. And he just sort of like schools it with his like brows turned downwards. I do not know. This is a surprise, but and Conrad looks around and others. You all know him with such familiarity. You all saying such things, but I don't recall. And then he like, which is probably more indicative of this. His current thoughts, I suppose, he does sort of like waver the point of the rapier and more turn towards like Fall and Sevia and Beatrice. We're just ignoring like this, haze of malice from like Kirsty in the background. And like, I didn't. If it were important, I would remember. Why can't I? I would remember.
Beatrice walks over to Conrad and like grabs him by the collar and drags his face down to her and like looks at him in that way, like really when birds are like really intently like looking at something and they just sort of like on one side, she's just like staring straight in his eyes.
So Conrad is like momentarily just like a bit stunned that she does this, which is how she like, and she's strong, so which is how she drags him closer in, and then he will try to like shift out of her. What?
There's something wrong.
Of course there's something wrong. We just swum through a volcano. We just got attacked by something that came out of fire. Which is normal for us, I suppose, but why don't I remember?
Beatrice lets him go and then walks over to Sevia and like guides Sevia across to the side.
What? Sorry, Beatrice.
You and Conrad have been talking a lot lately. I feel like you know a little bit more about what's going on.
she looks at Beatrice and then across at Conrad and then at Fall and then at Exley. And her gaze lingers there for a really long time. She looks back at Beatrice. We should have told you. She leans closer. She's wanting to make sure that only Beatrice can hear this. His gods have been taking his memories. He remembers flashes of an automaton, glimpses of times Exley helped. He doesn't remember his name at all. Everything else is hazy. I fear it will soon be gone altogether. He's lost other things as well. We don't know the extent of it. We've been trying to help. This is I don't know how to help.
All we do for now is focus on task at hand, yes? And if we can figure out the way, along the way, of helping Conrad, perhaps the best thing would be to try and find a way to sever the link, yes?
I fear severing it will take everything. And I also fear it's the only option.
Perhaps this is a discussion that we should have with Mordenkainen. Yes?
Yes. God. We'll sort it out.
For now, we keep Conrad calm. Yes?
Yes.
Good. Beatrice wanders back over to the group.
Just as a question,
Yes.
mainly to Beatrice and Sevia. Were the two of you turned away from the party at that time during
Yes.
the conversation? Okay.
I imagine Sevia kept looking back at the group, so yes, you lip-reading fuck, you probably know glimpses of it, just not all of it.
I know there was a conversation about Conrad.
Yes.
Thank you.
Cool.
During this conversation, Phil would have gone to Conrad just after Beatrice left. And just kind of like uncomfortable body language, trying to like approach him, like very aware of like all the people that are around, like Percy and Grog and Exley and everything, and just kind of like lean near Conrad and say softly, I'm sorry, it's I think this is one of the things that we realized with the memories being taken. It's hard. It's the Exley is one of them. That's what's happening.
He's still just like holding the right people. It's like more uselessly now, and he looks quite young. He looks younger than you do, Fall, in like for a moment. They just sort of like it certainly doesn't look calm, as Beatrice is suggesting, but sort of steps in a little bit. Yes, no, that makes sense. That's what they threatened. But I don't... This doesn't... No matter. Well, this 42 was an ally, yes? You come with no ill will? He calls out over Fall's shoulder.
I do not. I do not believe I ever have. Except for our first meeting.
Our first meeting.
Indeed, I was attempting to investigate your group to see if you were allied with Strahd. I determined you were not, and thus approached.
And again, like, depending on how easily Exley reads emotions, there is some kind of expression, like even Paul would notice there's some kind of expression when Exley speaks with Strahd that sticks quite hard with Conrad in this moment. He sort of just like shakes his head back a bit, and sort of again reflexively sort of clenches his fist. It's holding the rapier where the magic had almost come out all the moment ago. Like, I see. But that's right. And then an automaton left when we were in the tomb. Gone.
Yes, we don't really know what happened there.
Lost. I remember that. I mean, of course I do. What happened?
I believe it is an important distinction that I did not leave. Or rather, I was not the one who left.
And Conrad, like, sort of, lowers his rapier more and sort of just lightly pushes Fall to one side as he steps forward in front of Fall. What do you mean? Why are you here now? Speak. I wish to know. 42.
Because we are one. We are a team.
A team. Card looks back at Fall and at Seaver and Beatrice, who are having a hushed conversation, probably finishing up at that point. Yes. Team. Of course. And you return. How? That was on another plane.
It was quite a journey. I was teleported somewhere in the temple, and I was attacked. The creature was destroyed, and I removed myself from the room that I was trapped in. I then wandered the halls of the temple trying to find you. But then you left. So I have continued to try to find you, and now I am here.
We left.
We're forced to leave.
Yes, we were teleported away too, right?
Yes, Celia wanders back over to the group. A lich sent us to hell. We had no way of getting back.
Exley takes a quick look around. While we are in the center of a volcano, is this any sort of description that he has heard of hell?
Roll me a religion check.
Uh-oh.
Bear.
6.
6.
He's like 3 months old.
You like the closest you have heard of hell is like there's a mad woman in, I think it's Valaki, Lady Wachter, who is obsessed with hell, and then Strahd is sometimes called the devil. That's about all you know.
Fair enough. Exley opens up his mouth and then sort of closes it again with a little like and he just sort of cocks his head to the other side as if he's trying to think of what to say.
Which is a similar thing that Conrad's doing currently, as Fallen Seaver interjecting to try to set the story straight. He's trying to place something.
We did not choose to leave you behind. We looked for you. We were running out of time. We went to fight the Lich, bring back the ability for healing and to happen and for life to continue. And the Lich took issue with us. Sent us to Avernus, the plane known as Hell. Mordenkainen sent you that message. We had no other way to get to you. I'm not strong enough.
Then I believe it is good that I am. And he's going to reach into his one of the satchels that's on his side, and he's just going to throw a fairly large leather pouch just in the middle of the group, and it just sort of ching on the ground, and kind of like opens up a little bit, and you just see a lot of gold spread out.
Oh my. How did that get you here?
It did not. But it does mean that you no longer need to return to the Mournlands. This is the reward. I have not yet divided it.
Oh,
The reward for the tomb.
Of course.
You were there.
You completed it. You took care of the Lich.
Death curse has been removed.
You do remember that before being sent away, you collectively did destroy the Atropol and the Soulmonger. At which point, 1, 4 was able to be brought back to life as an indicator of the death curse being lifted, and 2, a bunch of souls just escaped from the Soulmonger and got to go to their afterlives.
Yes.
You completed the journey, we did not. As we were torn away from there.
I did. I assumed you had good reason for not collecting the reward. Being
We could not-
forcibly teleported would classify as a good reason.
We could not return. When we were shunted to stop us from completing our goal, we were at the behest of Mordenkainen, who knew you. Yes. Contacted the automaton. And Mordenkainen requires an item to travel. And it was stolen from him, so he could not return us. And we've been trying, and then we failed. And he sort of like touches the bit where like his like collar is sort of like one button's undone. There's incredibly dark bruising around his neck, almost as if like there's been like the big hand has grabbed that. And then he just sort of like looks distant again. And now we're here. A long string of events. And you have followed us here. How? How did you travel here when Mordenkainen could not?
I required a tuning fork. I heard word of where one was. So I traveled and retrieved it.
But how did you know we were?
That is difficult to explain. You were of a great help, Sylvia.
Me?
Of course.
I've been here the whole time. How was I helping you?
Sylvia, roll me an intelligence.
And yet you were with me.
As I do that, actually, do you want to finish your sentence?
No, he just says, and yet you were with me.
That's such a bad check for her. In 14.
You vaguely remember something about a clone that the hags had.
See, I remember that. Celia doesn't. You mean you? Oh my God! You the looky like? She's still connected to me.
Currently, yes.
Oh my God! Those hags are powerful. Is she all right? Did she help you? Is she here? Does she have a name? What's happened?
That was several questions. I will attempt to answer them. She is fine. I believe she does have a name. She has been given several. She was assisting me in my attempt to rejoin you. As for where she is currently, I do not know. She wished to explore her own future.
Oh,
That's good.
good. What her name?
I do not know the name that she chose for herself. I refer to her as Designation 43.
Sylvia's expression drops a little bit, and then I was like, "No, that's affection for Exley. That's cute. Its own way."
And one could argue that she
And she just kind of nods.
So I did it.
Oh God.
whether or not she
I don't like the ethics
or
of
a humanoid, who knows? But
Meanwhile, Conrad is still looking somewhat distant, questioningly at 42, and just under his breath, as before Sylvia responds, however she will, I imagine, just goes, a future of her own.
But I am glad she could help. Who teleported you here?
That is also a difficult question.
We have a few seconds.
The traveling party that I was with from the temple. We were all very powerful in our own ways. It was interesting learning how others work, and through that learning my own capabilities.
Your capabilities. Can you traverse the planes? A
Given the
construct.
appropriate time and items, I can.
With the fork that you
Indeed.
sought out.
That is how I got here.
You have magic such as that to traverse the planes.
I have acquired many a great magic in my time traveling, both with you and with my other group.
We should. That is most impressive. You have good skill then, 42. That is a great asset to wish to return to us with. A long journey to find us here under the ocean.
Speaking of where we are, can I get some help here? I need someone nice and strong to help me rip this open.
And he points at like the stone wall.
Right. Yes, of course.
Right. So
And Fall probably looks comically like small and skinny next to Grog.
yeah. So Fall, we'll have you roll the check here with advantage for helping Grog.
Just a strength check.
Yes.
Okay. With advantage, that is 21.
21. Okay, so the two of you struggle for a moment, but as you tense yourselves, you push and shoves, and your fingers grind and actually break the stone to an extent. And as you reveal metal, the stone crumbles down, and as you pull your hands back a little bit, you are pulling away volcanic stone. The glyphs that you saw before actually breaking around your grasp, yours and Grog's, and you can look inside and see hammered dark metal on the other side. You put your hand in and shove as hard as you can, and with a very faint grinding, you feel it give about an inch, then another inch, and then eventually it gives out suddenly, and you watch the entire square structure fall inward with a slamming echo. The sound that echoes again and again down a stairway that disappears from view about 20 feet ahead of you.
All right, so got it. Right, so what did that achieve there?
We need to get through. Anvil's this way.
Fantastic.
Watch your step.
Grog says as he jumps, and you notice as he does so and lands that these are massive steps. They're where is like they are like incredible height to these steps. I just need to find the
A very hostile to our mostly short party. If we had a gnome or a half,
they're traversable, but they're about 3 feet wide each step. So you
And a party full of short kings.
yeah.
Could Beatrice fly with someone, like holding someone? if that someone was, say, Sevia?
Yeah. You'd be pretty much at half speed, but time isn't necessarily quite of the essence to that extent.
Beatrice is gonna scoop Sevia up in a bridal carry and start flying down. Let's go. Phew.
Right before Stevie's gonna be like, as Fall and Grog are ripping the stone apart, Stevie's gonna be like, hey, we're here to banish a god. And then as she opens her mouth to elaborate, she gets scooped up and carried away, and she...
I feel there should be more to that.
Phil looks at Beatrice flying along with Sevia and looks disappointed, both because he's like, hey, that's my girl, I could help her, and also because he's like, hey, that looks fun, I want to do that.
No.
I want to carry it and fly.
If memory serves, who here is wearing magical boots? Conrad and Fall, this is probably going to be a concern for the two of you at the moment.
What? Oh. How so?
The heat of the metal down there.
Oh, no, that's a good point.
Yes, that is not good. I do not have much I can do in the face of this.
I can make you resistant to like heat and fire and everything. I don't know if that would work enough.
Would that not work enough for you?
I don't know. I'm already a bit resistant.
What kind of shoes are Conrad and Fall wearing?
He just has boots. Steel capped boots.
I mean, Phil just has leather boots.
Okay.
None of them are magical, yeah. No.
Were those part of your leather armor set that you got?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, so
They're fancy boy boots.
might be some light enchantment on them.
He wanted to look nice. It has now been swimming through the ocean.
Fall, you know, like your.
Can I wrap the wraps of Diamag around my feet?
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that.
Are they fire resistant? Because they're magical.
They're magical, yeah.
Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Yeah.
Cora's like, well, I'll find a way, regardless. And he sort of like sheathes his rapier, turning finally away from staring at 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, and kind of like clenches his fist a little for a moment, and then sort of like the black sort of like ghosts of like veins run up his neck, and his eyes flash for a moment, and a teardrop of amber runs down as he activates Form of Dread. Shadows slide up around him for a moment. It sort of becomes temporarily more gaunt, more hollow, and he gets 16 temporary hit points.
Okay.
Which he needs currently. It sort of like makes him look sicker, and like because he's still been mauled quite severely by this creature before. It's like still like darkened blood, but not actively bleeding currently. But yeah, so it looks pretty horrible right now.
Ooh, cool. I'll still give you the protection from heat thing. Is that okay?
He like tentatively holds out a hand to touch creepy Conrad's shoulder.
It feels more bony.
Got other hand touching his lyre. He'll just like put a hand on his shoulder. A little pulse of energy comes out, and that's protection from energy. So you've got resistance to fire damage for the next hour.
Oh, Fall. Appreciated. Fall.
No problem.
It will not cause problem for anyone else. We should probably hurry before Sevia and Beatrice come across anything.
Oh, that's true.
I am made entirely of non-magical metal. I believe this entire chamber will be a problem.
Oh, that's a good point.
I can solve this problem myself. However, that would require a great deal of effort on my half.
That would not be useful, I suppose.
My life only lets me keep someone fire resistant once a day.
Damn, I thought I had a spell like
I
use,
can't.
but I don't. Where did it go? It's fine.
All right.
I can deal with this problem myself. It is fine.
Okay, so everyone has some method of getting down now then? That
And it remains to be seen.
they are happy to risk. So Conrad, using your form of dread to kind of bolster yourself, fall.
Yeah, again, he needs it.
The wraps around your boots. And Exley, what is your method?
Well, as everyone turns away, I actually burst into flame and use a vestige of flame.
That'll do it.
Yeah, let's get a district for Exley as well.
This man is on fire.
And you see
What magic?
walks along the wall sideways. As his shoes seem to almost cling to the wall.
Nice.
So as you collectively descend, all your measures seem to have been sufficient to protect your various forms of footwear. And as you descend, the staircase continues below as the hallway comes to an end and you find yourself descending into the center of a massive hexagonal chamber. The walls climb about 20 feet on each of the hexagonal sides. There's one flat wall ahead of you, and you assume probably one behind, but you cannot see it from your current perspective on the staircase. You can see that the walls are still made from the long plates of intricate hammered metal, black and red tinted with dust and rock, and whatever other materials were forged into the actual metal. The support girders of dark red metal marks the seam at every wall plate, like when you entered the hallway above. Centered to the chamber ahead of you, across the wall that you see there is a glowing pit of heated coals, about 15 feet on any side, that marks the floor before a giant metal wall with two X-shaped crossbeams that hit the corners of where that wall begins on each side. And in the center where they meet, you see a raised relief of solid gold bolted there that surrounds an opening of some kind. There's a space in that golden relief. 25 feet to the ceiling, and it's halfway down, so it's about 12 and a half feet in the center. So from the ground, you'd have to get up to see it.
As a whole relief, is it like a opening to a pathway or just...
There seems to be a pathway going through it, yes.
Oh, okay, so that's probably where we need to,
Yeah.
is that the way we need to get through now? Like, is there other pathways?
All right, so looking up above the coals and the heat emanating from them below, you are extremely hot, and you can see it warping the air above, but you can see that there is access. Do you want to walk around the back of the staircase?
Yeah, give it a squint.
You notice behind the staircase, there is a relief that the wall opposite the side of the relief contains the space that appears to have once held some sort of figure in the relief that is no longer there. can see that there are 4 pillars right along the side of where the staircase descends that contain bolted in large braziers that contain ever-burning flame. Flickering that give orange-red glow, similar to the coals you saw embedded in the ground as you arrived. Then, on the back side of the staircase and the columns that held it aloft, and there is a furnace built into it, a number of tools that are hanging to the side, small tongs and heavy leather gauntlets. This room is a smelter.
Right. So, this is where we need to melt down the platinum. Then we go on to the next room, where we put it all together.
I see. Ingenious.
It's a fascinating room. Is this, do you know where this came from? Is this like some religious significance?
It was the forge of the old hammer himself, here in the days of the, the days before the calamity.
Right. That's a weird for us to bit of a sacred site then.
We were led to it before by the gods themselves when we were dealing with Vecna.
Oh, goodness, if they take no offense, that's fine then.
The workshop is meant to be used. For.
True.
Let's fire up these coals, and those with the greatest resistance to heat. Grog, Fall, possibly Conrad. I don't know. I don't know your abilities all that well, but that belt there might suggest at least some strength or some attunement to fire. But
Yes, the little red gems kind of flash for a moment.
actually, maybe since you seem to be on magical fire at the moment, that might help as well. We're going to need to melt down this platinum. We can't spare a drop of it. There's much platinum in that reward that you brought back for yourself and your friends, actually.
I believe there is. I also have my own share.
All right.
And he's going to pull out his own satchels and everything. He's got like 4 or 5 different pouches with various amounts of money in them. He just doesn't bother keeping it on his person.
All right. We're going to need all the platinum we can. And he gets out a notepad and quickly and like a quill and quickly starts jotting down. If we're short, we might be able to make a slightly inferior one, mixing in some gold as well as an alloy, but it's not going to be as reliable. Definitely not as effective as the ones made of pure platinum.
I should hope we have enough then.
Yes.
It's been a long trip to get here.
Yes. Now, Exley, including what I told you during our little conversation was given for the reward.
Yes.
How much in gold and platinum do you have?
So I don't remember the breakdown of the reward between gold and platinum, but that was, including that, I have 300 platinum and 6,000 gold, and then the reward.
Okay. So, it was... So, I believe it was the equivalent of about 1,000 gold each, the reward, or was it 2,000? I think it was about 1,000 gold each. No, it was about 2,000. So it's going to be a stretch. You're going to have to use some gold to bolster it, but between the gold and platinum of the reward, you have about 10,000.
Beatrice also has 300 platinum.
So that was already
That was already counted?
in the 3 that you already had budgeted.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And if you use all of your 300 platinum Exley, and if you have 2,000 in gold pieces, then you can put that towards it. It's not going to be perfect, but it's better than not having a 4th one.
Exley's just going to throw whatever he has at the group. He has no concept of currency.
All right.
As a very brief little sidebar, when everyone came down and Beatrice was flying around with the Sevia, when Exley entered completely on fire, Sevia would have turned to Beatrice, who would probably notice that Sevia is just like almost out of her mind with how overstimulating today has been. And she just kind of goes, well, clearly the conversation after we left went well.
Beatrice just chuckles.
All right.
And then would proceed to stay out of way of the heat.
So, this smelting process is going to be a quick skill challenge. I'm going to allow 5 total attempts at something. Everyone, I will allow to pitch me an idea of how they help with the smelting process. And depending on that, I will ask for a skill check of some sort. And you need to have 3 successes total to successfully smelt the platinum properly. So, who would like to make a suggestion first?
My immediate instinct is that if there's any point where the coals seem to waver, Sevia is going to use a lot of fire magic to keep everything burning as hot as it needs to melt down platinum.
Okay, so what we'll say there is I will ask you to roll me a I know. I'm going to ask you to roll me a Constitution saving throw. Expend a spell slot of a level of your choice. You get a bonus to the concentration saving throw for each, based on the level of spell you choose. So if you want to cast a 3rd level spell slot, then you get a +3 bonus. If you want to cast 5th level, you get +5, etc., etc.
Okay.
So that represents you using your magic to bolster and superheat this fire and concentrate on it for as long as it needs to be.
Okay. And I'm assuming I have to pick the spell level before I roll the dice.
Yes.
Okay. I am going to do a 5th level because I really want this to work.
Okay.
So that would end up being, and I'm also in Beatrice's arms. Do I get the paladin bonus stat, or is that not applicable here?
This is a saving throw.
Okay, so that's a +13 to whatever I roll.
Yeah.
Okay, because my con's a +3, Beatrice +5, and then 5th level. Okay, so +13. Okay.
This is either really bad or really good.
That's a natural fucking 20.
Okay, so those coals just roar into life. The heat is almost painful for everyone in the room, but you're able to, through your arcane prowess, just get it to the heat that, like, it's just hot enough that it's not emanating too far out at this intense heat, and you're actually able to contain the actual heat so that even being within close proximity to the flame doesn't feel extreme.
Yeah, she's probably spell sculpting as much as possible to keep it in this shape. Yeah, cool.
That is 1 success.
Hell yeah.
Who wants to go next?
Well, if there's any particular equipment, Conrad will be following what Grog and Percy's direction is. And he's sort of like rolls his sleeves off. He's like, okay, well, I can help with finesse, or I can move. I can, if as long as I concentrate hard enough on this. And he sort of like taps one of the gemstones on his belt. I can utilize some of my strength. So, what should I do? I am at disadvantage here. I do not know anything of this sort of manual labor, so
Right.
You are experienced, you have done this before. I understand this. This is the best that I can make myself useful.
Grab one of those casts.
And you see Grog points at like the big kind of stone boxes by the tools. They're probably about a foot wide on either side.
Or grab 4 of them. We've got the material for 4.
4 of them.
You can grab them one at a time.
Yes, of course, I need that. Certainly. He kind of like walks over. It's like he like looks. He's like, no, but I want to impress the big strong man. Okay, sure. And then he kind of just like looks around.
Multiple at a time if you want, but
He's gonna be doing this. So he vaults over. He still looks pretty horrible. And just sort of like slag off like a few drops of amber as he exerts himself. But as he exerts effort, which is a different sort of effort to gracefully turning or like using a rapier, it's activating those muscles. His belt flashes, and he uses that burst of energy, that strength of pushing his muscles to that limit to move these as instructed.
okay.
He doesn't look very pleased about the fact he's not a genius at this, but yeah.
Okay. Roll me a strength check.
I would love to. Sure. All right, here we go. Don't fail me now, dice. Cool. That's a 17.
Okay.
So not super great, but that's okay.
They're even with the belt of giant strength, they are heavy, and you can only manage to get them over one at a time.
Yeah.
I believe that ambiguous as to whether that was a success or failure, because it was kind of a cusp one. Natural 20 with a plus 13. There was no way that was a failure, but all right. So, who is going to do something next?
So Exley will attempt to help. He's not done any sort of smelting in the past. He did a little bit of metal work while he was refinding himself, but nothing to this sort of level. So I think what Exley is going to do is just sort of observe the process as a whole, because everyone is focused on their own individual tasks. So it can be very easy to lose sight of the big picture. So I think what Exley is doing is he's trying to sort of sit back a little bit, make sure that everyone is flowing, sort of use the skills that he has picked up in his time of observing and watching and understanding how things work, to see if there is a hole that needs to be filled, or if someone is working too fast or too slow. Just watching the whole thing.
Okay, so roll me a perception check. As you try to kind of middle manage the process.
Yeah, like a foreman that doesn't really know what he's doing. A dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Okay. Noted. All right, who is next?
I think Phil will probably also go to Grog after Conrad and be like, oh,
yes, Mr. Grog, I don't know how smelting works at all, but I am strong. I'm dexterous, or...
Into the liquid. We melt the
Okay.
metal into liquid.
I don't,
What can I help with?
I can inspire people. Magically.
Like Scanlan?
Like what? I like bad magic.
Yeah, that's like Scanlan. Don't think he was much help. Well, he was. But that was because he was a planetar. At the time. You're strong.
Yes.
You're good with fire.
Yes. Yeah, kind of.
Help me hold these in the fire.
Shall do. Okay.
Okay. All right. So roll me we will say a Constitution saving throw as you hold as the platinum is placed into the stone cases as you hold it into the fire. The mixture of your own infernal heritage and Sevia's control of the flames through magic protecting you.
Well, I got a natural 4, which makes it a 7.
Oh. Okay, so you as much as it isn't
Inspire yourself for.
difficult to bear and you
My wraps are still on my shoes as well, so...
and you pull your arms out before like there's the metal is barely gooey, let alone liquid. And Beatrice.
So, Beatrice sort of watches for a bit and tries to work out what she can do. She probably doesn't step in until right towards the very end, once everything has been sort of set in the casings, and she will attempt to help cool the casings
Okay.
by creating a very strong wind with her little wings.
Okay. Roll me an athletics check. Yeah. And it's a slow process because since Fall isn't able to quite withstand the heat for whatever reason in this moment, Grog is having to deal with them all himself, so it's one by one. But
That's a 21.
21. So it's not the perfect cooling process, but it definitely does the job. And you get it down to the point where it's still bubbling, because you don't want it to be completely solid yet, until it's in formation. But it definitely gets it to a point where it's malleable, but it's not going to burn to touch it or be too runny as a liquid. Okay. I can tell you there were enough successes there for this process to be successful.
Long hike if it wasn't.
Yeah. And Percy says, right, so now we go to the anvil. And as you continue through, you step out of the wall into another room. Unlike the ones you saw previously that were pressed in and released, these have a little more dimension to them, and the majority of the physical form is embedded backwards into the wall. You see there is an anvil upon a high platform in the center of the room. and 2 smelting vats that, while not necessarily hot enough to do the smelting itself, should be enough to sustain enough heat to keep the platinum malleable. You also see that there is in this room, and I didn't think I would have another opportunity to use this mini, but I don't really have anything else appropriate. You see a giant automaton of sorts step out of the wall. And they all of a sudden come storming out, giant great swords swinging in front of them, and immediately heads towards you. And we are going to take a break and end the episode for this week. And next week, when we come back, we're going to roll some initiative and deal. Doctors, the fucker's back.
Everyone.
Okay. And we'll be back next week.
Toodles.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
Ho!